So I've been very frustrated lately with the state that this country is in, and I've been feeling kind of ashamed to be an American, at least at this time. I'm just frustrated. From what I can see in the recent years, more and more, especially in the last year since Trump has taken over again, I'm realizing more and more how America has been accepting fascism, which is not what I was exactly taught that this country was supposed to be. It's embarrassing to me that a lot of this nation still supports a dictator who has no morals whatsoever and who promotes socialism for the ultra-rich and yet creates poverty traps for the working class so they can't get ahead. More and more and more. This just proves how America, or how a lot of Americans and how the leadership in this country fails to have compassion for the underprivileged, but they have no problem supporting this tyrant who has been basically their God for the last 10 years. Since 2016, Trump ran for the first time. And ever since, so many people, especially in rural areas, it seems like they treat him like he's some kind of god. And it just really makes me disappointed in this nation when that's what they support. That's who they think is their savior. And then they've been doing this for 10 years, and then they voted for him 3 times in a row. I mean, how messed up. I mean, all you have to do with the compassion issue is take a look at ICE, for example. Okay? So they basically, just take a look what they've done. They put on masks and they terrorize people and arrest anyone who is black or brown that they choose. Anybody that they choose. And then they just throw them in these detention centers if they don't report them right away, which basically, to me, are modern day concentration camps. And the best excuse they can make for that is that they're illegal aliens. Illegal. That's the best excuse these Nazi terrorists have for putting these black and brown people in concentration camps. That's the best excuse they have for making all these arrests. I mean, a lot of them haven't committed crimes. A lot of them work jobs, raise families here, have started businesses even, and yet, just because they don't have legal documentation to be citizens in this country, our communist government basically just figures they can arrest them and then do whatever they want with them. And then they just use all these stupid laws and legality crap as an excuse for their cruelty and to promote fascism. That's basically what's been going on. And it's terrible. And then they murder any U.S. citizens who try to protest against it. I mean, can it get any worse than that? I mean, how can it get this bad? And then what really has put me over the edge, especially in the last year, I've noticed a lot of these Trump supporters. I've noticed a lot of them are in the MAGA Christian group, and they use their religion, their Christian religion, somehow as a way to justify for all the cruelty that our government does. And somehow they go around bragging about how they're these big Christians. You notice you'll drive by their home, and then you'll see in their yard, you see a big Trump signs all over the place. And then you see a sign saying that they're Christian or something, that they believe in Jesus and whatever else. And so they're bragging about how Trump's the best thing ever, and then about how they're great Christians. And then it's always made me so angry how they worship a dictator and then yet claim they're Christian. And the worst part is they all brag about how they're pro-life. The Republican Party, all they care about is bragging about how they're pro-life, and that makes them Christian. Which, while they claim they're pro-life, while they support a dictator who represents corporate corruption and evil, and then they still say they're pro-life. just because they think abortion is the worst sin in the world. They try to feed that into everyone's head, but yet they have no problem with the corruption of all these big corporations that run this country, and they have no problem with voting for the dictator that promotes them. They have no issue with that whatsoever. It just isn't fair. And then you look at Charlie Kirk, who promoted Trump for years. And then he's the one who gets the Medal of Freedom. He gets the Medal of Freedom. We had U.S. citizens murdered. Alex Preddy, Renee Good murdered by ICE. Shot multiple times. And then Charlie Kirk is the one who gets the Medal of Freedom for supporting the dictator. What's that about? That just isn't fair to me. Something about that doesn't make sense. If we're truly a free country. And then they call him a patriot. That's how stupid some of these Republicans are. It's nuts. I don't know what the deal is. If they've just been force-fed all this information, or if they just have no brain cells, or if some of them just don't have morals anymore. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. It's really frustrating. And then it just makes me think about the ICE thing. If they're so mad about having illegal aliens here, why can't there be a way to make aliens legal? The illegal aliens legal citizens to the United States, if they don't have a criminal record, and if they've worked jobs, raised families here, and haven't done any harm, besides just not having legal documentation, why can't there be a path to citizenship? Why do they have to make it so complicated that way? And we could just forgive them for entering the country illegally if we're such a Christian nation that these Republicans claim. Wouldn't that be a more Christian thing to do than just throwing them in concentration camps and separating them from their families? Wouldn't that be a more real thing to do that'd be more like what Christ was? Instead of just demonizing them and then separating from their families and then going around saying being gay and having an abortion is the worst sins in the world, but the dictator, he can do whatever he wants because he's a rich white male. So can all these oligarchs that run these big corporations that basically run this country and mess people up. They got total control because they're rich. They don't have any accountability whatsoever. And that's a thing. I mean, in a lot of ways, the Democratic and Republican parties have failed to address this issue of the corporate corruption in this nation. They haven't really done enough about it. But Trump, he's the worst of the worst. He worships corporate polluters. They mess up the world, our natural world, and they violate our right to clean air, clean water. And the people who live in these communities that have pollution, toxins in the air and the water all over the environment, are the people who pay the price. It makes them sick, and it also is bad for the economy too in so many ways. And oil and coal companies, some of the big top corporate polluters, they spent hundreds of millions of dollars lobbying to get Trump elected and to get all the rules and laws in Congress to go into favor for them. So he basically worships all of these bastards on top, and there's no accountability. They can do anything they want because they have rich white privilege, and he supports it, and no one's going to do anything about it. Neither of the political parties have done enough about it, but the Republican Party has proven that they're the worst at this because they voted for this guy 3 times in a row, and they're too stupid to realize that he isn't their savior. Maybe to them he is, but not to the underprivileged, or even to most Americans, especially working class Americans trying to get ahead. He's the worst thing that could happen. Then you take a look at the health insurance companies. There's some more evil right there. They keep jacking the rates up for the health insurance premiums that are already super expensive. And then Trump just decided to cut all the subsidies when they expired, or at least most of them, which makes it even more unaffordable, makes health insurance and healthcare even more unaffordable than it already was to Americans. And that's awful. I mean, I didn't think it could happen that quickly, but it did. Basically, our healthcare is super unaffordable. To some people, not affordable at all. And, you know, here's the thing. So, if we're a very sick nation. We have a lot of chronic disease, a lot of illness. And a lot of it's because of big corporations that run it. Big Ag, they poisoned us with all the pesticides, GMOs, all these pollutants they put in our food. And a lot of these companies that pollute, they're the ones who made us as sick as we are. Making all these processed foods, selling them to us. And they're the ones who've done it. And the government failed to do anything to stop them. They didn't do a thing to stop it from making us sick. So I think being the government didn't hold them accountable. I think the government should be accountable by subsidizing most of our health care. Because if they would have stopped this in the beginning, we wouldn't be as sick as we are. I mean, this just don't make sense. Big Pharma, Big Ag, they made us sick, and the government didn't do anything to stop them. So there's an accountability issue here, a huge accountability issue. And then when I look at all this crap that has happened under the Trump administration, unaffordable health care, so people can't even afford to have health care, even if they're really sick, and all of this, and corporate polluters, corporate corruption, you know, none of this seems pro-life to me. None of that seems like pro-life. I mean, if you're going to have a family and have kids, wouldn't you want them to have clean air, clean water, health care that's affordable, and to have a chance at prospering in this country instead of being bankrupt? I mean, so I don't buy into this pro-life crap that the Republicans have been promoting. I just don't buy into it because none of what they promote is pro-life to me. And hey, there's a lot of things that I'll disagree probably on certain topics with Democrats too. Both parties. There are things I'll disagree on, and I'll call them out. Politicians on both sides that I can't stand, and I'll call them out for it. And then I'll say that I don't agree with it and that it goes against my morals. But the idea that the Republicans can just go around bragging about how they're pro-life and better than everyone else when they're just as bad, and then they elected a dictator for the second time, and they still voted for him 3 times in a row, a lot of them. So, I mean, I just don't buy into this crap that they've been trying to brainwash me with. And both parties, you know, a lot of Democrat, Republican politicians, they failed to take action for a lot of these important issues that are, in a lot of ways, they've just, I mean, it just takes forever for a big change to happen, and that's what we need. And humanity is at stake right now because of all this crap that our government has allowed to happen, and especially our nation alone is in a huge mess. So I don't know if there's a way to reunite us and resolve this mess or not. I feel hopeless right now, to be honest. I feel very hopeless about this country. Very, very hopeless. I mean, I don't know. These crooked politicians on top, they worship corporate polluters, corporations that just have control over us. They censor us. They make us sick. They gouge the prices up of everything. And they got total control over us. That isn't true capitalism to me. That isn't a true free market system. I feel like that's more socialism for the ultra-rich, like I said, poverty traps for the underprivileged and the working class. And the government supports it. They promote it. And I don't know how we can get out of a mess like this when we don't have any good leaders that are going to address and attack these issues. I mean, one thing that drives me nuts is that all we have in a lot of these elections, you get one Democratic candidate and then one Republican in the presidential elections. I mean, that doesn't give you much choice. Why isn't there multiple from each party? Why aren't more people voting independent? I mean, if you don't like the Democratic candidate, I mean, that's your business, but then is that a good enough excuse to vote for a dictator? I mean, why don't you just not vote? If you don't trust either of the candidates, just don't vote. There's nothing wrong with not voting. I know I've heard from people saying, oh, you have to vote, it's your duty. But no, you don't have to vote at all. You don't. I mean, sometimes not voting is probably the best way you can go. If you're not happy with a lot of things with either candidate, just don't vote. Or maybe vote for an independent candidate. Vote for the independents. If you like them better, just vote for them. Worst comes to worst. And most importantly, you need to be willing to talk about these issues everywhere you go. Don't be afraid to talk about it. It's hard to do it because we're afraid of opposition and offending someone, especially if there's someone we're close to, like a loved one. But if no one talks about these issues, if everyone stays silent, it's only going to get way worse. So you have to find a way to talk about it and spread the word out there. That's all I got to say. Make sure to spread the word. Please subscribe if you want, and feel free to leave comments below on any of the things maybe that you'd like me to discuss more. Any of the things I just discussed, if you want me to dig deeper on any of these topics and talk about them more, I'd be curious. And if you have anything you want to share, please leave some information in the comments.